Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us today. My name is AJ Kuftic. I'm a digital product strategist with Expedient. Today, I'm very, very excited to show you Expedient's cost control. We've talked a lot about cost optimization. We're going to continue to talk about it for the rest of the month. We've talked a lot about it as part of MultiCloud Madness. So today, I'm going to give you a live demo of it. Real quick though, housekeeping note, if you have any questions, please enter those about here into the Q&A panel. We'll get those questions answered after the session. Also, if you ask a question, you're entered to win a prize. That prize today is a $100 Best Buy gift card. And all of this is being recorded. So if you want to show your coworkers, show your boss, this will all be recorded. You'll get a link in your email. It'll also be available on go.expedient.com/webinar replays, on Instagram.com/_expedient, YouTube.com/expedient, and LinkedIn.com/company/expedient. Go ahead and give us a follow on all of those social networks as well. For those of you who are new to Expedient, we've evolved over the last 20 years. We started in co-location, and that started in 2001. Today, we have 12 data centers in 8 cities. In 2007, we released our virtual co-location, and that allowed us to provide cloud services for VMware workloads, and that's evolved into our enterprise cloud. We've been doing cloud for almost 15 years now. In 2015, we released push button DR. That's our way to figure out and fix the problems that most people have with disaster recovery and provide disaster recovery as a service. Today, that's the fastest failover in the industry with full network failover. In 2018, we released our enterprise cloud to provide a full cloud operating model for your VMware workloads without all the refactoring. That's the evolution of our original cloud product. So again, keeping up and making sure that you have what you need as you go forward. And last year, we released our cloud native platform to power app modernization with fully managed Kubernetes, persistent container storage, and full observability. And this year, we've been heavily focused on multi-cloud, and that continues today. And when we think about multi-cloud, it really creates a number of problems, right? And again, using multiple clouds is not a multi-cloud strategy. You're just using multiple clouds. And so when you look, you can kind of see that this can get overwhelming very quickly, especially when none of them have the same interface, right? You have vSphere on-prem, you have a vCloud Director and an enterprise cloud, you have the AWS, Azure, and GCP portals, and inside of those portals can be a number of different services. And so it can be very overwhelming, and trying to keep up with all of them can be a huge challenge. And not only that, they all have different spending. And your on-prem environment is still likely very CapEx heavy. I buy a piece of hardware, I run it for its life, and then when it's done, I replace it. And that's a very traditional way of doing IT spending. But in a cloud model, you move to an OpEx model, and that involves things like forecasting and right sizing. And I'll be really honest, IT people are bad at that, like really bad at that, because we've never had to think about that on-prem. Our best idea of forecasting on-prem has been to buy something and then go, I think we'll grow 20% year over year. That sounds about right, right? Dave, does that sound right? All right, we'll order the array with a little bit of extra headroom. And that was it. That was the extent of our forecasting. And then if we forecasted incorrectly, we would just go buy another tray of disks and slap that into the array and say, all right, we're good to go. That's not how you do cloud. That's how you do cloud poorly. That's how you end up spending a bunch of money you didn't need to. And not only that, across all of these clouds, but even inside of the clouds, those models can be different. An enterprise cloud like Expedient will be different than the hyperscale clouds and the way that they operate. We have a predictable cost model. AWS, Azure, and GCP have a very pay-as-you-go. You are paying for exactly what you're using, whether you're actually using those resources or not. And so that can make a ton of different financial challenges. And finally, you have a bunch of different policies that you need to apply across the board, but the syntax to apply those policies can be very different as well, right? I need to make sure that everything is compliant or that my authentication is up to snuff. Those are different between all of those individual clouds. And that leads to bigger challenges in management, security, cost management, data management, and networking. But today, I want to focus on one of them, and that's cost management, because it is cost optimization. That joke is there on purpose. And so what we want to do is figure out how to optimize our costs going forward. The problem is, in order to optimize our costs, we have to know where it's going. Where is our money going? And it starts with what we talked about last week, which was to have a bunch of teams that have already gone out to the cloud. Developer teams have already made their way out there, but you don't see it because they've gone out there with maybe a procurement card, maybe their own credit card, and they're just expensing things. That's not great. Maybe they have their own agreement set up with the cloud providers and they just didn't talk to IT at all. Those are the sorts of things that can happen. This is what we've always called shadow IT, or as I like to call it, going around IT. And so that spend is out there and it's happening and the business is paying for it, but it doesn't come from the usual IT spending. And so trying to wrangle these costs can be really hard. And because each of these teams went out on their own, you may have multiple bills and even multiple organizations inside of those clouds all doing their own individual spending. And so it makes it really, really hard to figure out what your true costs are. In fact, the best way to actually go do this, if you'd like to figure out where all your spending is, you got to go talk to the friends in accounting. And you have to say, hey, Mary in accounting, maybe Rick, and say, hey, can you show me all of the money we spent with Amazon in the last month from everywhere? And they can generate you a report and they can say, hey, here's everything we spent. I don't know what it actually lines up to. And then you can try to go figure out what all those organizations are. And it's an incredibly manual effort. And guess what you get to do next month? The same thing. So in order to optimize our costs, we have to figure out where all of that spend is coming from. We have to get the actual picture of our spend before we can go any further. And that's where Expedient's cost control comes in. We can bring in a full cost overview. Now, this still involves you going and finding all of these accounts. But what this allows you to do is actually bring that together. So you have to do this once, not every single month when you go talk to accounting and ask for a very nice report. And speaking of reports, I can actually schedule reports or run them on demand. I don't know why on demand had to be separate there, but it was. And so you can schedule those reports to run on demand, or you can schedule them to run daily or weekly. And this gives you the ability to send your cost overviews to maybe managers, directors, other parts of the organization, so that they have an idea of their spend in semi-real time. And this gives them the ability to make decisions based upon that. Oh, hey, actually, my budget for the month is only $1,000 and we're at $750 and it's only been a week. Whoa, what's happening here? And make better decisions. So instead of them getting to the end of the month and finding out they spent $3,000 instead of $1,000, they might spend $1,500. And so the overages could potentially be less. This is a way for you to optimize those costs. And when you're going to those teams and asking for those accounts and connecting them all into the system, it's a way for you to say, hey, I want to make you look good. I want to make you spend your money wisely so that you can continue doing what you want to do. We can also analyze costs in real time. So I can go through and flip through maybe what I'm spending in each individual cloud, like at the AWS, Azure, GCP, Expedient level, even on-prem, or I can get down into the group level. And one of the really key features of the groups is the ability to say, this is my developer unit. And that developer unit is using AWS and Azure. For them to see their own spend, they have to log into two different interfaces. They have to go figure out where all of their spend is going. You can actually bring those together, put those into one single chart and see where their spend is going. You can also create tags. So I can tag things as production, test, dev, and I can see where my spend is going. How much am I spending on production? How much am I spending on test? How much am I spending on dev? And I can make better decisions against those. But we didn't come here for slides. We came here for a live demo. Let's have a live demo. So I'm actually going to do one quick thing here because I usually get asked about this and I always forget to. We'll zoom that in for everybody. We'll make it nice and big so everybody can see everything. So hopefully that's good. What we see here is we have our main dashboard. And I can see all of my instances across a number of different clouds. And I can actually go into my instances and see things like in Expedient Enterprise Cloud, Here's one in AWS Ohio, but I see all of them together. And this gives me the ability to see across all of my clouds instead of logging into 5 different portals to try to find everything. And when I go down into my operations, I can see my individual reports. So I can see things like my cloud usage, reservations, application costs. But if I pick cloud costs, I can see my individual costs, or I can see my total cloud spend in one report. I can see that I'm using 4 clouds, I have 22 instances, and I'm spending about $1,400. And I can even break that down by cloud. So yeah, I'm only spending $10 in AWS, and I'm spending $1,000 in Expedient Enterprise Cloud, but I also have 15 instances here instead of the one that's over here. And these have been around longer. This one was deployed the other day. So there's ways for me to break down my costs just at the cloud level. But I can also dive deeper into the analytics to see where things are going. So this is basically the same report, but it's much more up to date. I've actually got 5 clouds in here because we just added a cloud this morning. So I have the ability to see where all of my spend is going and even total cost by region. So I can see, am I spending it all in West versus East versus Europe versus Asia? And I can see where all of my costs are going by cloud, by region, by type. And I can even see inside of here, when I said I was spending it in Expedient Enterprise Cloud, that $1,000, it's actually broken out into 2 different data centers, so I can see where those things are going. So I can get down into the cloud and region level at that, in that manner. So these are ways for me to see all of these costs up front. I'm able to flip through these analytics, and I can even get deeper. Like, this is just cloud level. But if I go down to the group level, I can see that this Expedient application, because it's cool to take out all the vowels, I can see that this application is spending $566. But that's not necessarily tied back to any particular cloud. I'm able to tie it back to my business organization. And I created these. These are not out of the box. You can create this and map this to your existing business operations. This gives you the best of both. This gives you the best way to actually see where your spend is going, because you want to actually see this and bubble this up so you can say, hey, our Amazon bill's $5,000 this month. Well, it turns out that the Expedient group spent $3,000 of that. Oh, okay. That makes it easier for me to say, okay, that's a big application that's using most of this money. I know where the majority of this is going. So if I wanted to make a change in that, I would go to that group and say, hey, what's going on over here? Are you growing? What's changing? How do we actually do that? I can even get down into tags. I don't have any tags created right now, but I can actually tag this. I can actually put in tags for production, dev. I can set labels on things to actually bring that back. I can also do utilization versus cost. So I can see that this VM up here is not heavily utilized, but it's huge. And so I can make a huge savings just by resizing this VM. So I can see this. I can see that this SA demo DC02 is actually heavily utilized because it's doing a bunch of authentication in our lab, but it's sized correctly. So I have really great utilization to cost ratios. This is actually really, really helpful when you see your workloads kind of laid out, and it makes it much simpler. This utilization box where it's a, I'm paying $50 for this box, but it's not being used at all. This is not great, and I should probably do something about it. Right? These are ways to do that. I can also see my instance types. So I can see Ubuntu versus CentOS versus Amazon Linux 2 versus vCloud Director VMs. I can get down on my instance types, and I can really dive deep into the data of what I'm using in my clouds. But it's interesting to see this in real time, but how do I actually optimize my costs going forward on that? The first way to do that is with guidance. And what I can do is I can see my VMs, and I can see the savings that I can make, or maybe where I need to spend a little bit more money to right-size my environment for the utilization that I have. So here I have this demo easel box, which is great, but it's really oversized. I'm only using 3.4 gigs of the 32 gigs of RAM that's on that box. If I right-sized it down just down to even 16 gigs, I still have plenty of memory in the box, but I'm going to save $112 a month. And that's a sizable amount of money, because over the course of a year, that's over $1,000. Over 3 years, that's over $3,000. That's actually a demonstrable change in the environment. But I can also see things like SA Demo DCO2 is heavily utilized because it's doing a lot of authentication, and my memory is at 90%. It's saying, hey, for performance reasons, you should actually bump this up from 8 gigs to 16 gigs. It'll cost you an extra $56 a month, but you're going to get better performance out of this box and find problems before they start. We want to fine tune our resources to make sure that we're spending our money wisely. That doesn't just mean cut costs. That means get the best performance for our dollar. I also have execute buttons in there. I don't know if you noticed those, but what that can actually do is if I click execute, it'll actually go in and right size the box for me. It'll shut it down, change the sizing, bring it back online with the correct sizing. And in certain clouds like AWS, that's actually not easy to do. You take a snapshot of the VM. So this is the way it actually works technically. Take a snapshot of the VM, destroy the instance, deploy a new one, and reattach your snapshot. There's plenty of opportunity for you to delete the VM before you take the snapshot, and then you end up with a deleted VM and a recovery process instead of a right sizing. And so this is a way for you to do that in an automated fashion and be sure that you're going to do it right the first time. But one of the other things we can do is do cost optimization up front during the provisioning process. So I can click on provisioning, and I have in here all of my instances. I can see all of them running. I can even do really neat things like I can go see the console. So I can go here, and I can see here's who owns this box. Here's how much it costs per month. And I can see how much of the utilization I'm seeing at the storage, CPU, and IOPS level. And I can even click console and click in here. And my session should come up. Shake, shake, shake. Neat. So the console will actually pull up eventually. But one of the other things we can actually see is inside here, I can do an add and I can do provisioning here. This is basic provisioning. There are other things that you can do later on. You could build your own blueprints, those sorts of things. But for this, I'm going to start with a new Linux OS. And I have in here a number of groups. Now, my accounting group only has access to EEC, but my marketing group has access to AWS and Azure. And I can deploy instances across clouds from a single interface. Again, eliminating all of those interfaces and figuring out how to operate inside of them. But my Expedient group, they're my problem child, and they always want more. And so they actually have access to all of them because they want to operate across every cloud. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick our ACM data center, and I'm going to say website test, and this is going to go into test. Now in here, I have a base Linux VM, 16 gigs of RAM, single socket, and no memory attached because I wanted the ability to create custom instances. So I'm going to say this gets, I don't know, 40 gigs of storage. We'll put it on the right storage policy. This will have 2 CPUs and 4 gigs of RAM, and we'll put it on the right network. And under here, under plan, it has cores 2, memory 4 gigs, and $32 a month. But I have this little dollar button here, and if I click on that, I can see what this would cost to run this same instance on AWS and Google Cloud. And what's actually really interesting about this is hard as crap to do in real life, because you would have to go out to each one of those sites and go through their pricing calculator to go figure that out. I just click a button and see it right here. And this is utilizing the pricing APIs. So what your account sees in the cloud is what this sees. And this allows you to get custom pricing right up front. It makes it super simple as part of the deployment. So I'm going to click next. And in here, I have the ability to set things like lifecycle. So if I, again, want to optimize cost, this is a website test box. I just want to run it for right now. I can tell it as part of a power schedule how many days it should be shut down, how many days it should last before it expires. And I can maintain a bunch of automation around how I do my deployments to actually make this work. So if I click next, I see all of the things that I have here. And if I click complete, it'll go do this deployment. These are really, really great capabilities that we have inside of our environment. And we can do even more. So if you want, you could sign up for a free demo, you can contact me. We can get you in here so you can connect to your clouds and see all of the workloads that you have available and what things we can help you right size going forward. You can get full cost overviews, schedule those reports, analyze costs in real time, and really take control of optimizing your cloud costs. If you want to learn more, you can go to our website, expedient.com/services/assessments, where you can sign up for a free cloud assessment where we can help you land your workloads in the right cloud the first time from your existing on-prem environment. And you can go to expedient.com/services/multi-cloud and see our full multi-cloud vision and how cost optimization is a huge part of that. And please join us next week. This is a big one. Special hour-long presentation and webinar with Melanie Posey and Liam Eagle from 451 Research, a blueprint for getting your cloud migrations right. They have 40 combined years of experience. They've seen it. They've done it. And this is a way for you to get your questions answered. I'll be there doing a little bit of moderation, but Melanie and Liam will be there to answer all of your questions and mine around how to get your migrations done correctly. And with that, I'll open it up for questions. Where's my question box? Got a couple of things here. So, are there specific limitations in what can be done in Azure versus other public clouds? No. Anything that we support inside of Azure, there's nothing different there. We're doing instance deployments. So it's a way for you to do that there. We can pull in all of the costing for Azure. The only reason that we don't have anything with Azure costing wise is because we haven't deployed anything there yet. It's the same reason why Google Cloud wasn't in there, because we just added Google Cloud this morning. So we don't have any instances, so there's no cost to optimize. So there's nothing really to see there. Is there a discovery feature to find new accounts? So this will depend on the way that your organization is set up. AWS has the capability to do organizations inside of AWS, where you can link multiple accounts together under one organization. And you should be able to pull all of that in. But there's not a discovery feature to go out to AWS and say, hey, everybody find all the accounts that have an @expedient.com address. There isn't a way to do that. That is a cloud by cloud basis because they're all different in the way that they handle billing. But this is an opportunity for you to go sort out where all of your cloud spend is going and to help all of these groups inside of your organization optimize their costs going forward. Is there an API available? Yes. We have API documentation to do that. You can reach out to me and I can help you find the API documentation there. But there is APIs that you can use. You can customize reports. You can do deployments to it. You can use our portal as a way to do deployments to your cloud. So if you already have an existing CI/CD tool or an existing automation tool, you can use this as your portal to get to all of your clouds. So it makes it super simple for your developers to take that on and streamline that and eliminate all of that technical debt. Can you add exchange rates for different currency costs? I believe you can set currencies in there. So you don't just have to use the US dollar. If you are, say, in Canada, you can use the Canadian dollar. Yes, you can set that up. Is this a one-time purchase or a subscription-based service? So this is subscription-based. And the really nice part about this is the type of functionality that people pay a lot of money in one-time purchases to deploy on-prem. And we're offering it as a service. So you're able to come in. You don't have to have hundreds of VMs or thousands of VMs to use this. You can use this with as little as one VM. But this is a way for you to start to optimize your costs going forward. Does the execute option guidance only work for Expedient systems, or does it work across the various cloud providers? It works on AWS and Azure and GCP, and it does work in Expedient. So we do support the big three. There are many other clouds in there, things like Alibaba, Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud. So there's a number of different ways to do that, but the execute option definitely works in ours and the main hyperscale providers. Yes, there are notifications. In fact, I just got one this morning. So there are notifications that you can get from the system because it's tied to your email account. So it'll email you notifications when you do a deployment, when you are running out of budget. There's other things in there where you can set budgets and approvals. So if one of your coworkers does a little too much, you can actually set a budget and set approvals to make sure that they're not just running out and doing a bunch of things. In fact, with this very quick time we have left, I can set policies here. And I can set things like provision approval, where I can set I can go all the way down to the user level and say, Mike needs to have everything approved because he did too many things. I can also set things at a group level. So I can say that the entire Expedient group needs to have full approvals, or I can say, hey, everything, we just stood up things in Google Cloud, so everything going into Google Cloud needs to be approved. And then there's a whole notification and approval system inside of that. I can also set budgets inside of that. So I can say, so here's your different currencies. So for the question around Canadian dollars, you can definitely set that. You can set maximum total price for all instances per month inside of Google Cloud. I can say nobody can spend more than $500. And that's a way for you to set budgets and control costs again upfront before it turns into a bigger problem. Back there. Does this work well for school districts? Yeah, works well for everybody. One of the things that school districts actually have is the ability to turn down a lot of things in the summertime. And hopefully everybody who's been working in a school district over the last year gets a wonderful summer break. But yes, this works well for school districts. This works well for a lot of different organizations. And there's that. Amazon released AWS SaaS Boost to convert on-prem to cloud. That's something we can look into. It's not something we've looked into yet, but it's definitely something that's possible. Can you set policies and cost limitations? Yes. So that was the budgets that that I just showed there. That question did come in before I kicked off that little part of the demo. So can we use the create instance for custom pricing? So the Azure pricing right now, for some reason, is broken. There's something wrong in the API where it says that it's coming down, but it's not. So that's something that we're working with our partner on actually getting fixed, because I would like to see Azure pricing in there as well. That was done. That was done. And I think I'll finish here with the questions. What is one thing that sets us apart from our competitors is that we're constantly doing new things like this. We're constantly trying to figure out ways to make our customers' IT journey better, their cloud journeys better. These are things that we don't necessarily have to do. We want to be able to help everyone. We see problems that we want to solve. And so things like cost optimization, cloud deployments, managing multiple clouds, we see it, we hear it from our customers, we hear it from our clients, and we want to make their lives better. And that's really what sets us apart, is our ability to potentially go outside of our normal swim lane to make sure that our customers have the best experience possible. With that, let me do the quick give away here. The winner of the $100 Best Buy gift card is John Harrison. So congratulations to John. Karen will be reaching out to you shortly. We appreciate all of your time. Please, again, join us next week with Melanie and Liam from 451 Research. That's going to be a fantastic presentation. Please go register today. I'm pretty sure we actually just sent out a reminder about that, but you can also go to our website, expedient.com, should be right up there at the top to go register. I'm really looking forward to this one. And Melanie and Liam are super sharp. So this is a chance to get your questions answered by super sharp analysts. You should join us for that. With that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next week. Thanks.